Good morning, students. In the last lecture, we discussed about the hypersensitive reaction. So when the antigen is exogenous, the reaction is the hypersensitive reaction. The antigen can be microbial and non-microbial, and it will give rise to the hypersensitive reaction, which are of 4 types. We already discussed about it. But when the antigen is endogenous, like when the antigen is our cells, our tissue antigens, then our immune system will act on it, but it not responded on it, but not responded. So there is harmony between the cellular and tissue antigens and our immune system, and there will be no deleterious effect on our health system. So when there is defect in this system, in this harmony between these two things, then it will be development of the autoimmune diseases or autoimmunity. So in the autoimmune diseases, the prototype disease is the SLE or systemic lupus erythematosus. Now, so in autoimmune diseases, there is failure of self-recognition. Means when the antigen is presented to our immune system, it will be tolerated. It will be recognized and tolerated. So there is failure of self-recognition, there is failure of self-tolerance, and the tolerance can be of 2 types. They are developed in the central organs, lymphoid organs, and in the periphery. And in the etiology, there is predominantly 3 factors are there. In most of the diseases, there are 2 factors, genetic factors and environmental factors. But in the autoimmune diseases, the third factor is the immunological factor. Now, what is the immunological tolerance? It is the unresponsiveness to an antigen induced by exposure of lymphocytes to that antigen. So when the antigen is exposed to our immune cells like CD4 lymphocytes, CD8 lymphocytes, it should be unresponsive to that antigen. So self-tolerance refers to the lack of responsiveness to an individual's own antigen, so that we live in harmony with our cells and tissue. Lymphocytes with receptors are capable of recognizing self-antigen are generated constantly. So in our body, our tissue antigens or cellular antigen are constantly developed, and these can be recognized by our immune system cells like lymphocytes. These cells have eliminated the cells which recognizes the antigen can be eliminated or inactivated as soon as they recognize self-antigen to prevent them from causing harm to our system or our body. Now the tolerance can be of 2 types, central tolerance and peripheral tolerance. The immature self-reactive T and B lymphocytes, clones that recognizes self-antigen during their maturation in the central lymphoid organs like in thymus and in the bone marrow, are killed or rendered harmless. So as soon as these immune cells, T and B lymphocytes, recognizes our tissue or cellular antigen, they are killed or become harmless, so that there will be no widespread or no generalized reaction against our cells and tissue antigens. The developing T cells express high affinity receptors for self-antigen. Immature lymphocytes encounter with the antigen in the thymus, and there they die by the apoptosis. Now this is known as negative selection or deletion. As soon as these antigens which recognizes the antigen, our cellular antigen, they become apoptotic, they die and by apoptosis, and this is known as the negative selection or deletion. This is response for eliminating self-reactive lymphocytes from the T cell pool. Now a protein, that is AIRE, it stimulates the expression of peripheral tissue restricted self-antigen in the thymus, and this is critical for the deletion of T cells specific for these antigen. If there is mutation in the AIRE gene, it will develop autoimmune diseases like polyendocrinopathy. Now some CD4 T cells that do not die in the central organs, they develop into the regulatory T cells and comes into the peripheral circulation. Now this is the diagram showing the central and peripheral tolerance. In this, the T cells in the thymus. Now the tissue and this yellow color is the antigen. Now the tissue antigen and cellular antigen, when they are recognized by our own antigen presenting cells, which are dendritic cells, and with the help of MHC molecules, these blue colored are the MHC molecules, and they presented it to the T cells and the B cells. Now the T cells, when they present it to the T cells recognizes these antigen, but they don't react on it, but they become apoptotic, or they become die or deleted, and some small subset will develop into the regulatory T cells, which comes into the peripheral circulation. So some CD4 cells that do not die develop into the regulatory T cell. Coming to the next. In the bone marrow, the developing B cells, they also strongly recognize self-antigen, our cellular and tissue antigen. Many of them reactivate now the mechanism of the B cell action is different from the T cell, because they reactivate the machinery of antigen receptor gene rearrangement. So there is the receptor present on the B cell, and there is a change in the receptor gene rearrangement. They express new antigen receptor that is not specific for the self antigen. This is known as the receptor editing. So receptor editing is the mechanism to get rid of these type of antigens in the bone marrow or B cells. If receptor editing does not occur, suppose the B cells escape from the receptor editing, then self-reactive cells undergo apoptosis similar to the T cells. There is also slippage of self-reactive B lymphocytes in the peripheral circulation, and that escapes the negative selection, and it will either inflict tissue injury or they will be tolerated in the peripheral tolerance system. So these are the T cells, these are the B cells. There will be deletion. So first of all, the major mechanism or predominant mechanism is the receptor editing. So there is receptor gene rearrangement, and this is known as receptor editing. If there is, it will not occur, then the small subset will become die by apoptosis, and some of the part of these activated B cells comes into the peripheral circulation, that will inflict either tissue injury or they will become anergic or failure to respond to the antigen. Now in the peripheral tolerance, several mechanisms silence the potentially autoreactive B and T cells in the peripheral tissue. So B and T cells from the central organ like thymus and the bone marrow, they come into the peripheral, only small subset of there come into the peripheral circulation or in the peripheral lymphoid organs, and there will be different mechanism by which they are tolerated, or they are tolerated. So the three mechanism are the energy suppression by regulatory T cell and deletion by apoptosis. So what are these? Here there is suppression by T regulatory cells, and there is energy, there is deletion again in the B cell. This is about the T cell and this is about the B cell. The small subset which escapes from the central tolerance comes into the peripheral side and become energetic. B cells become energetic. So what are these? Energy that lymphocyte that recognizes self-antigen may become functionally unresponsive. How it happens? Activation of antigen specific T cells require two signals. In our previous discussion of immune system, we know that there is antigen presenting cells like dendritic cells, which with the help of MHC antigen, they will present antigen to the T cell. If there is MHC1 antigen is there, then it will bind with the CD8 T cells. If MHC2 antigen is presenting by the antigen presenting cells along with the antigen, then CD4 cell recognizes that antigen. So one is that first signal is that MHC antigen binding or presenting antigen with the CD4 T cell. Then second signal is one more signal is required for the antigen and for the interaction of the APC and the T cell, and that second signal is very important. So activation of antigen specific T cell required two signal. First is recognition of peptide antigen in association with the self MHC molecule on the surface of antigen presenting cell. Second, a set of co-stimulator, that is known as second signal, from the antigen presenting cell. It is provided by certain T cell associated molecule. For example, CD28 that bind to their ligands on the antigen presenting cell. Now this diagram is showing. One side there is antigen presenting cell, suppose it is dendritic cell, and it process the antigen. It catch the antigen, it process the antigen and present it with the help of this MHC2 molecule. And here is the CD4 T cell, and it recognizes this peptide antigen with their receptor molecule. And this after the binding of this receptor molecule with this peptide antigen and MHC class 2 antigen, it will produce signal first, and after this signal first there is binding of CD28 molecule with the CD80 and 86 present on the APC. So this, if there is deficient CD28, then there is decrease in the signal 2, and there will be no further interaction or no further reaction. So this second signal is very necessary for the development of further reaction. If antigen is presented to the T cells without adequate level of the co-stimulator, this CD28 is co-stimulator, the cell become anergic. It will be non-responsive or unresponsive. So co-stimulatory molecules, these co-stimulatory molecules are not or weakly expressed on the resting dendritic cells in the tissue. So in our tissue, they are present everywhere. These dendritic cells are present everywhere, underlying the skin and each and every tissue, but it will not be responsive or not reactive to the cellular antigen, because in the resting dendritic cell in normal condition, there is decreased or the weakly expressed co-stimulatory molecule or CD28, but in these cells it will become upregulated. So the encounter between the autoreactive T cell and their specific self antigen displayed by these dendritic cells may lead to the anergy or unresponsiveness to the antigen. Second mechanism in the peripheral tolerance, first is the anergy, second is the suppression by regulatory T cells. So the function of the regulatory T cell is to prevent immune reaction against the self antigen. These cells are present mainly in the thymus and also in the peripheral lymphoid tissue. These cells are CD4 T cells that express high level of CD25 plus alpha chain of interleukin 2 receptor and a transcription factor of forehead family FOXP3, and all three are required for the development and maintenance of the CD4 regulatory T cell. So the FOXP3, if there is mutation in the FOXP3, then it gives rise to the systemic type of autoimmune diseases. So autoimmune diseases can be of two types, local or systemic, but the mutation in the FOXP3 result in the systemic autoimmune diseases. Now the question arises that in the mother, like when a lady is pregnant or the fetus contains the paternal antigen. So why the paternal antigens are tolerated by the mother? Here the role of the FOXP3 regulated T cells comes. So it has a role in acceptance of the fetus that stably express FOXP3 transcription factor and induce the FOXP3 regulatory T cell in the mother. So if there is FOXP3 T cell depletion, it will cause fetal loss. Now this is the third mechanism, that is deletion by apoptosis. One is the anergy of the peripheral tolerance. First is the anergy, second mechanism is the regulatory T cell, and third is the apoptosis. So T cells that recognizes self antigen may receive signal that promote their death by apoptosis. They express pro-apoptotic member of BCL family like BIM. So without anti-apoptotic member, that is BCL2, when unopposed, BIM triggers apoptosis by mitochondrial pathway. So the pathway of apoptosis are of different types. One is the BCL and BIM pathway, BIM or BCL pathway, and the fast ligand pathway. So the second is the activated T and B lymphocytes death involves the fast ligand system. Lymphocyte and many other cells express death receptor, fast and fast ligand membrane protein structurally similar to the cytokine. Tumor necrosis factor is expressed mainly on the activated lymphocytes. So engagement of fast by fast ligand induces apoptosis of the activated T cells. So this is about the mechanism of central tolerance and peripheral tolerance. So when there is failure in the tolerance, it will develop into the autoimmunity. So the mechanism of autoimmunity is that autoimmunity arises from the combination of inheritance of susceptibility genes which may contribute to the breakdown of the self-tolerance. The other is, as with other diseases, like environmental factors are there, like triggers, infections and the tissue damage, which promote activation of the self-reactive lymphocytes, and there is defective tolerance, of course, abnormal display of self-antigen, and other mechanism are the inflammation. Now this diagram is showing the etiological factors. There is genetic susceptibility. Susceptibility to genes leads to failure of self-tolerance, and the self-reactive lymphocytes are there to destroy the tissue and cells of our body. Second is the environmental stimuli. It can be some infection or some tissue injury that will produce more and more amount of the antigen, free antigen, and that will initiate the activation of the tissue antigen presenting cells that trap the antigen and present it with the help of MHC molecule to the lymphocytes in the tissue, and there is activation of self-reactive lymphocytes with their receptor, and that antigen binding with these CD4 cells will cause tissue injury and autoimmune diseases. The role of susceptibility genes is great contributory gene is the HLA gene, other are the PT and PTT gene. As we all know that HLA genes are very important, and they important in certain diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and type 1 diabetes mellitus. There is association of the HLA B27. Similarly, there are multiple HLA genes which are involved in different type of diseases, and non-MHC genes like PTN, P22 in rheumatoid arthritis and type 1 diabetes mellitus are there, and NOD2 type of non-MHC gene is associated with the Crohn's disease. So certainly there are role, and there is increased incidence in the monozygotic twins that also support our theory of the role of the susceptibility genes. Now the role of infection, or then second is the environmental factor. So there can be a tissue injury or infections that will also cause tissue injury. So autoimmune reaction may be triggered by infection by two mechanisms. First, infection may upregulate the expression of co-stimulator on the antigen presenting cell. So in the resting state, the antigen presenting cell, that is the dendritic cell, has co-stimulator, and there is down regulation of the co-stimulator, that is CD28. But infection will upregulate these co-stimulator, or there will be increased reaction. If these cells presenting self-antigen, there will be breakdown of the energy or unresponsiveness, and there is activation of the T cells specific for these self-antigen. Second mechanism, that some microbes may express antigen that may have same amino acid sequence as the self-antigen or certain structure of our body or the of our body. So immune response against the microbial antigen will also be against some our body tissue or organ or the cells. So the activation of self-reactive lymphocytes are there, and this is known as molecular mimicry. So there is reaction against of our immune system against the microbial antigen, which has a similarity to our body or tissue antigens, and this at the same time there is reaction against our own cells and cellular antigens. So the best example is the rheumatic heart disease, when there is in which there is similarity between the microbe antigen and the between our cell antigen of the heart and joints. Now the autoimmune diseases presented with the, actually these are the chronic diseases with multiple relapses and remissions, and there is damage of the tissue which is often progressive with intrinsic amplification loops. Means there is more and more production of, it is a vicious cycle, there is more and more injury, more production of the antigen, and there will be more reaction against our cellular antigen. So it has a progressive disease, and there is epitope spreading. Epitope spreading is that when tissue damage occurs, it releases more and more antigen. So multiple injury, multiple damage will which increase our antigen load. So there is activation of the lymphocytes by these newly encountered epitopes. The clinical and pathological manifestation of an autoimmune disease are determined by the nature of the underlying autoimmune diseases. Now we classify the autoimmune diseases into the two categories, like systemic, when the reaction is in the system, it involves most of our organs and of the body, and it is localized type of autoimmune disease when the disease is local to the particular organ. So in the systemic, the prototype is the SLE or systemic lupus erythematosus. Now the other are the rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's syndrome, systemic sclerosis, mixed connective tissue disorder, polyarthritis nodosa, etc. The classic autoimmune diseases in the local type is the Hashimoto's, involving the thyroid, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune orchitis, Goodpasture syndrome, involving the kidney and lungs, autoimmune thrombocytopenia, involving the spleen, pernicious anemia, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, myasthenia gravis, and Graves' disease. We all know about these diseases in our last lecture of hypersensitivity reaction. Now coming to the prototype of the autoimmune diseases, that is the lupus, also known as systemic lupus erythematosus. So in the etiology, three factors are important, like as I already told you that in autoimmune diseases genetic and environmental factors are important, and the third important factor is the immunological factor. So the most important feature is the immunological factor in these diseases. Like there is antibodies directed against the patient's own DNA, histones, non-histone, RNA, and nucleolus. In the pathogenesis, there is because there is increased amount of production of the antigen, so there will be antigen antibody reaction, and these immune complexes deposited in different tissue of our body, like in the skin, joints, kidney, vessels, heart, and central nervous system. And there is, after the deposition of these immune complexes, it will lead to inflammation or inflammatory reaction. Morphologically, there are different morphologically there are different things in the body, but the important are the which we can easily recognize are the butterfly rash. When we see the patient, there is butterfly rash, there is skin deposits of the immunoglobulins or immune complexes, and the immune complexes also deposit in the kidney that will give rise to the glomerulonephritis or of different type, which is of different type, like type 1 to type 6, which we will discuss later on. Clinical expression is there is progressive renal and vascular disease with positive anti-nuclear antibodies in the patient. So SLE is an autoimmune disease involving the multiple organ, and it is characterized by vast autoantibodies, particularly anti-nuclear antibodies. So injury is mainly caused by deposition of the immune complexes and binding of antibody to various cells and tissue antigens. Now it is prevalent 1 in 2,500 individuals, preferably involving the women, and female to male ratio is 9:1. So the criteria for the classification of the SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, it gives, the WHO gives different criteria 1 to criteria 11. So in a patient, there may be the all 11 criteria, fulfill the all 11 criteria in patient, or there may be some sign and symptoms. Like first of all, if we see the patient, there is malar rash, there is discoid rash, there is photosensitivity or intolerable to the sunlight. Then there may be oral ulcer, arthritis, so joints are affected, there is tenderness, swelling, and effusion in the joints. Then serositis, there may be pleuritis, there may be pericarditis, there may be some fluid in the in these layers. Then in the kidney, we will see that there is proteinuria, there are cellular cast, and there is glomerulonephritis. In neurological disorder, there may be psychosis, there may be seizures. Then in hematology, there is hemolytic anemia, leukopenia, lymphopenia, and thrombocytopenia, or there is pancytopenia. In immunological disorder, there is multiple antibodies like anti-DNA antibody, anti-Smith, anti-RNA, double-stranded RNA, double-stranded DNA, etc. Anti-nuclear antibodies, especially anti-nuclear antibodies, are there, which are diagnosed by the immunofluorescence. So the total criteria are 11, and the patient may present few of them or all of them. If we see the prevalence of the clinical manifestation in the patient, we see that the most common is the hematological presentation and fatigue. After that, there is arthralgia, myalgia, skin involvement is there, like different rashes are there, butterfly rashes are there, and all other symptoms are there in decreasing frequency. So the most important thing in the SLE is the anti-nuclear or any autoimmune disorder is the anti-nuclear antibodies. So hallmark is the production of autoantibodies directed against the nuclear antigen. So there are antibodies to the DNA, antibodies to the histones, non-histones bound to RNA, nuclear proteins, and the method of choice to detect them is the immunofluorescence, indirect type of immunofluorescence. So on immunofluorescence, we get different type of patterns, and that pattern suggests which type of antibodies present in the patient's serum. So 4 basic patterns are there: homogeneous or diffuse pattern, rim or peripheral staining pattern, speckled pattern, or nucleolar pattern. Then homogeneous or diffuse nuclear staining is that antibody, when the antibody is against the chromatin histones and occasionally to the double-stranded DNA, we get this type of pattern. Rim or peripheral staining pattern, most often it is due to the antibody to the double-stranded DNA. Then speckled pattern, most common, and it is least specific. It represents the antibody to the non-DNA nuclear constituents like Smith antigen, ribonucleoprotein, SSA and SSB. Fourth is the nucleolar pattern. Few discrete spots or fluorescence represent antibody to the RNA. Centromeric pattern, antibody specific to the centromere, they gives the centromeric pattern. So many antibodies present give rise to the combination of pattern. But the important thing is that there is the antibody to the double-stranded DNA and the Smith antigen are diagnostic of SLE. In spite of these antibodies, there are certain other antibodies also, like antibodies to the RBC, antibodies to the WBC, antibodies to the platelets, proteins, and especially proteins which are complexed with the phospholipids. So this diagram is showing the indirect type of immunofluorescence, the homogeneous pattern, rim pattern, then speckled pattern and nucleolar pattern. Now antiphospholipid antibodies are present in 30 to 40% of the lupus patient. This is against the protein part of the phospholipid. So they are against the epitope of the plasma proteins that are revealed when proteins are in complex with the phospholipid. So antibody against the phospholipid beta 2 group glycoprotein complex also bind with this antibody against the phospholipid beta 2 glycoprotein complex. It has a similarity with the cardiolipin antigen which is used in the syphilis. So antibody against this complex bind also with the cardiolipin antigen which is used in syphilis serology. So lupus patients gives false positive test for the syphilis because of this similarity only. Some of these antibodies may interfere in the in vitro clotting test like partial thromboplastin time, that is PTT, and this is known as the lupus anticoagulant. Now this table is showing the different type of autoimmune diseases like SLE, systemic sclerosis, Sjogren's syndrome, autoimmune myositis, and rheumatoid arthritis, and type of antibody, their percentage and association with the specific disease features. So in SLE, if we see the SLE, there is most commonly in 40 to 60% we see antibody to double-stranded DNA which is specific. Then UI ribonuclear protein, Smith antigen, then SSA, SSB, nucleoproteins, antibody, phospholipid protein complexes, antibodies, and multiple nuclear antigen antibodies. So they are present in the SLE. Now coming to the etiopathogenesis, which I already told you that in a case of autoimmune disorders, in the generalized autoimmune disorders, we see that there are three factors: genetic factors, environmental factor, and immunological factor. So the genetic factors like increased chances in the family member, we see the increased chances of autoimmune disorder in the same family member, and increased rate of these autoimmune disorder in the monozygotic twins. Along with there is HLA association, like HLA-DQ locus is involved. Some patients have inherited deficiency of C2 complement 2, complement 4 and complement 1Q level, impaired removal of immune complexes and there is impaired removal of the immune complexes by the monocyte phagocytic system. It favors the tissue deposition. So when there is deficiency of these complements, there is impaired removal of these immune complexes by the MPS system, and then these immune complexes deposited in our different tissues. Immunological factors. Several immunological aberrations result in persistent and uncontrolled activation of the self-reactivity lymphocytes. Failure of self-tolerance in the B cell, CD4 helper T cell, dependent antibody are produced in the germinal cell center, because CD4 T cell have positive stimulation for the production of the antibodies by the B cells, like they convert into the plasma cell and produces antibodies. Now toll-like receptor engagement by the DNA and RNA present in the immune complex. So in immune complex, the antigens DNA and RNA are present, and they will engage the toll-like receptor and they activate B cell. These toll-like receptor function normally to sense the microbial products like nucleic acid of the microbial antigen. But in autoimmune diseases, in this case, the antigen is the self antigen and that will activate the toll-like. There is engagement by the antigen of the toll-like receptor and there is activation. So second signal from the toll-like receptor activation of antigen specific B cell, it will lead to increased production of anti-nuclear antibodies. Third factor is the environmental factor. There is exposure to ultraviolet light. So after the genetic factors and immunological factor, third is the environmental factor. So exposure to ultraviolet light, it will this irradiation will induce apoptosis, and there is alteration of the DNA or destruction of the DNA, and there is release of cellular antigen, and these are recognized by the toll-like receptors. They also this irradiation also stimulates keratinocytes to produce interleukin-1, and that is the potent inflammatory marker and will induce inflammation. Certain drugs like hydralazine, procainamide and D-penicillamine will also cause SLE type of disease. Now this is the model for the pathogenesis of SLE. Here is the role of the genetic susceptibility gene that will cause B and T cells specific for self-nuclear antigen. There is increased production of T and such type of T and B cells. External stimuli like ultraviolet radiation will cause apoptosis of the cells and the tissue and will increase the burden of the nuclear antigen. So the more and more cells are die, and that will add the burden of nuclear antigen. So these antigens and these activated cells that will produce antibodies, these antigen antibody complexes are produced, and they are settled in various sites, as well as they are taken by the dendritic cells and B cells also. They are internalized. So there is endocytosis of the antigen antibody complexes and toll-like receptor engagement by the nuclear antigen. These are the toll-like receptor, and these antigen are bind by these receptors. So antigen antibody complexes internalize, there is endocytosis, and these antigen bind with the toll-like receptor, and because of the stimulation of the toll-like receptor, there is increased production of the B cells and there is activation of the dendritic cells. So it releases type 1 interferons that will also activate the B cell. So it will further increases the B cell conversion of B cell into the plasma cell, and more amount of the antibodies are produced. So there is persistent high level of anti-nuclear IgG antibody production in the cases of the SLE. So what is the mechanism of the tissue injury? So there are two type of hypersensitivity reaction, type 3 and type 2 reaction, that will cause tissue injury in case of SLE. In type 3 hypersensitivity reaction, most of the lesion caused by the this type of reaction. So DNA and anti-DNA complexes, so antigen and antibody complexes, plus low level of serum complement levels, and there and can be detected. And these type of immune complexes with decreased serum complement, they are detected in the glomeruli and the blood vessels, because they are settled at the filtration site, mostly at the filtration site, like in glomeruli and in the blood vessel. Now as they settle down, they will activate the inflammatory marker, and there is marked inflammation at that site. So autoantibodies is specific for one is there is antibodies to DNA, other are the antibody to RBC, WBC, platelets, and the antibodies opsonizes the cell, or it covers externally the cell and promote their phagocytosis and lysis. So type 2 reaction is there, hypersensitivity type 2 reaction is there. In tissue nuclei of the damaged cells react with the antinuclear antibodies. In tissue nuclei of the damaged cells react with the anti-nuclear antibodies. They lose their chromatic pattern and become homogeneous to produce the Ali bodies or hematoxylin bodies. So this is known as the Ali cell phenomena. It is seen when in previous years, or in the previously it was one of the diagnostic tests, but it is obsolete now. So in this test, in vitro, we agitate the blood of the patient, and by the help of the agitation, there is mechanical injury to the cells present in the blood of the patient, and the cells nuclei become exposed. The antibodies present in the patient's own serum will react with it. So it will cause Ali cell phenomena. The Ali cell is any phagocytic leukocytes like neutrophil or macrophage that has engulfed the denatured nucleus of an injured cell. One of the important is the antiphospholipid antibody syndrome. So antibody against the clotting factor, platelets, endothelial cells, it will cause thrombosis, and in the pregnant ladies it will cause recurrent miscarriages. There may be ocular or cerebral ischemia because of the thrombosis. There may be deep vein thrombosis, arterial venous thrombosis is there. Now coming to the morphology of the SLE. So SLE is the systemic disease. It will affect different organs of our body, but important are the kidney and blood vessels. So in blood vessel there is acute necrotizing vasculitis. These immune complexes settle down on the vessel wall and will inflate and will cause increased inflammation. So there will be acute necrotizing vasculitis, fibrinoid deposits, and fibrous thickening and luminal. Ultimately fibrous thickening and luminal narrowing is there of the blood vessels. So in the fibrinoid deposits we see that there is deposition of the immune complexes is there. There is increased inflammation, neutrophils are there in the wall and will cause further consequences. In the kidney, 50% of the patient, the kidney is involved in the 50% of the patient, and it is caused by the preformed circulating immune complexes or in situ lesion. So 6 pattern of glomerular diseases are seen in the SLE from class 1 to class 6. So class 1 is the least common, and class 4 is the most common type of pattern, morphological pattern, which we can identify in our biopsies. So class 1 to class 6 glomerulonephritis. In the class 1 it is known as minimal mesangial lupus nephritis, in which there is immune complexes are deposited in the mesangium. As you all know, in the kidney there is different capillary loops are there, and there is epithelial layer. Microscopically there is epithelial layer, basement membrane, endothelial layer, and in between the capillary loop is the mesangium. So there is increased deposition of the immune complexes in the mesangium. So on light microscopy it will shows normal glomeruli, and electron microscopy and immunofluorescence is showing the different deposition of the immune complexes in the mesangium. So other is the class 2, that is known as mesenchymal proliferative lupus nephritis, in which there is deposition of immune complexes as well as increased number of mesenchymal cells because of the proliferation. In class 3, focal lupus nephritis, focal means only 50% of the glomeruli involved, and segmental means a part of the glomeruli is involved. So 50% of the glomeruli is involved in the focal lupus nephritis. Type 4 is diffuse lupus nephritis. In most of the it shows different, almost all of the glomeruli involved. Class 5th is the membranous lupus nephritis, in which deposition at the capillary loops. Then type 6 is the advanced sclerosing lupus nephritis. Now this diagram is showing the focal glomerulonephritis. Only we see the deposition here and here, and not in the whole of the glomeruli. Here this is the diffuse glomerulonephritis, whole of the glomeruli is involved. This is the pars staining showing thickening of the basement membrane, and this is the electron microscopic picture showing the epithelial cells of the one of the capillary loop of the glomeruli. So here is the epithelial cell, this is the basement membrane, these are the endothelial cells. So there is subendothelial deposits of immune complexes is there in this particular picture. In spite of vessels and the kidney, the other organs like skin, CVS also involved. In the skin we see, as we see the patient, we see that there is butterfly rash, and microscopically there is vacuolar degeneration of the basal layer. In the CVS, cardiovascular system, there is involvement of any layer of the heart. There may be a pancarditis, involvement of endocardium, myocardium or pericardium. So pericardial involvement is seen in 50% of the patient. Valvular abnormalities are there. Valvular endocarditis is known as non-bacterial verrucous endocarditis in the form of single or multiple 1 to 3 millimeter watery deposits on any valve surface of the leaflet. And this endocarditis is known as Liebman-Sachs endocarditis. So there is verrucae is there. So verrucae deposition is there. Then other finding in the cardiovascular system is the myocardial ischemia, angina, atherosclerosis and hypertension. In the spleen, there is perivascular fibrosis with concentric rings of the collagen around the splenic arteriole. So there is onion skin appearance. In the lungs, there is diffuse interstitial pulmonary fibrosis and pleurisy will cause pain. In the CNS, there is psychiatric manifestation. There is common. And in the eye, yellow cotton wool like lesion, this is known as cytoid bodies. Also there, microscopically we see the cytoid bodies. Now this picture is showing the skin rashes. They are they look like the butterflies, so they are known as butterfly rashes, like this. This diagram is showing the skin, and there is degeneration of the basal layer, vacuolar degeneration of the basal layer of the epidermis, and there is and this diagram is showing the immunofluorescence and deposition of the immune complexes at the dermoepidermal junction. And these are the finding of the glomeruli, which I already told you. There is verrucae or vegetation is present. So this is known as the Liebman-Sachs endocarditis. Now coming to the diagnosis of the SLE. SLE is a systemic disease. So we find many findings in it, like right from the CBC, we go through the CBC and basic tests like CBC, ESR, urine examination, and the other tests which are very important. So first of all, in hematology we see that there is anemia, which is of commonly hemolytic type. There is pancytopenia, lymphopenia, thrombocytopenia. There is increased retic count. In the blood coagulation studies, we see that there is increased BT, CT and APTT. LE cell phenomena, which is previously very common test, is positive in this particular particular disease. That is LE cell phenomena. Serology. In the serology, we see that there is increased gamma globulin, IgG, then decreased serum albumin. Different type of antibodies, especially anti-nuclear antibodies are present, anti-phospholipid antibodies are present 40-50% cases, and on indirect immunofluorescence we see anti-nuclear antibodies and their different patterns. If you go for the urine analysis, we say that we see that there is proteinuria, hematuria, Hyland cast, RBC cast, and so on. So there are different tests through which we diagnose or we see clinically the patient, and then we see the different routine investigations. We go for them and we diagnose the case. So main disease, prototypic disease of the autoimmunity is the SLE. The other are the rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's syndrome, scleroderma. Like in rheumatoid arthritis, this diagram is showing the normal bilayered synovial membrane, and there is no inflammation at all. But in this case, in rheumatoid synovitis, we see marked inflammation and marked inflammatory cell infiltration in the synovial membrane, and grossly there is deformity of the hands. Other is the Sjogren's syndrome, in which there is this is the chronic disease which is characterized by dry eyes, dry mouth resulting from immunologically mediated destruction of the lacrimal and salivary glands. So there is loss of tear and saliva due to the lymphocytic infiltration and fibrosis in the gland. CD4 T cell, B cell and plasma cell are there in the inflammatory infiltrate. If we go for the serum RA factor, anti-nuclear antibodies, which is positive in 50 to 80% of the cases, antibody to SSA, SSB, and can be detected in 90% of the patient. There is association with the HLA antigens like HLA-B8, HLA-DR3, HLA-DQ-A1 and DQ-B1. So here is the salivary gland enlargement, grossly or clinically. When we go for microscopic examination, we see that there is marked infiltration of lymphocytes and plasma cell with lymphoid follicle formation, and there is epithelial hyperplasia is there. Salivary gland tissue. This is the normal salivary gland tissue, and this is the marked infiltration of the chronic inflammatory cells, predominantly lymphocyte and plasma cells. Other one is the systemic sclerosis, in which there is marked fibrosis of the skin, and it will produces the claw deformity of the hands and superimposed ulceration. And microscopically, if we see, there is in the dermis, this is the normal skin, there is no collagen or fibers here, but in the systemic sclerosis there is marked dermal collagen, or there is increase in the dermal collagen, and there is decrease in the adnexal structure in the dermis. There will be no adnexal structure in the dermis, but the adnexal structure which are present at the upper dermis will show marked infiltration of the inflammatory cells. So this is about the today's topic, that is autoimmunity, and the prototypic disease is the SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus. I hope that you will understand the things of the autoimmunity, though it is very tough, but you should go through the books and learn about it. You should go through the diagrams and the flow diagrams of the Robbins also, so that you can properly understand the things. Thank you.